feel pretty scared right now, but I'm just going to make it work. My idea of making it work was getting a job and blocking out all the pain with drugs and alcohol. And the pot was starting to get pretty hot. For someone all those years ago, 6 years ago, who was so suppressed, scared of her own shadow, wanted to travel but didn't have the confidence and had to drink through it, to feeling completely fearless, it was exciting, right?
Yeah.
And I really wanted to gift that girl the freedom she never had.
Hello, welcome to episode 17 of Who on Earth. This one, not with Amy Proudfoot, no, Amy Proudfoot. That's going to make more sense soon. Now, Amy is the founder of the Sober Social movement, which is all about taking people from this need to, I don't know, if you want to dance, you must have a drink. If you want to meet these people without having an anxiety attack, you must have this substance, and instead giving you a sober place to meet up. It's where I first met her properly, and we were doing Leo Oppenheim, who's going to be on next, was doing like breath work and cold water. Willpower from episode 9, he was taking us on this nature walk. Then you had Wizardry, it was the last 2 episodes, he was just doing his instruments as he does, and then there's Cow and Amy taking us on little journeys and that. It was fantastic. And there's loads of stuff like that she's doing. That's why I wanted to get her out there, show where she's come from, having overwhelming anxiety and just not feeling comfortable in her skin, so using substances to try and regulate, where really she realised it was a holistic approach. Now, I'll let Amy do the talking. In terms of myself, well, you heard me mention about meditation. That's because I'm a meditation teacher. So you want a one-on-one online, or I'll come to you. Or maybe you want to come down to one of the classes at the Resonance Centre every Monday. I also record those if you can't get there. And then there's also the event. So the next thing that's coming up, that'll be the 14th of April at Transmute Studio. It's a floating meditation journey. It's called The Cocoon of Past Lives. It's all about using those past life experiences, taking the vital lessons from them, and then using them to shape this new being that emerges from the cocoon. So yeah, love you to come down. I'll put a link for that as well. If not, there'll be loads of other journeys and events that I'm doing wherever you're up to in the timeline. And guys, please, any likes, any shares you can do, it's much appreciated. Tap, tap. I think that's the official sound effects. Now, before I give Amy her platform, let's just have a few words about, well, we spoke about them already, the Transmute crew. You know how much I love me some Transmute. Well, it's a new year, so of course there's new things to tell you about. What new things, Michael? Well, how about the African dance classes? Or maybe you want to be the reason for the dancers, so DJ lessons. And I can't wait for my own DJ lesson. DJ Moksha coming soon. Keep an eye out. And then we've got Jams Mute. I tell you, bring an instrument. Maybe it's even just your voice. Maybe you just want to enjoy the atmosphere. But come down to a Jams Mute and just express yourself through that sound. Now, if you might just have something as simple as a birthday or an event, something you want to host yourself, you know, you can rent the room out. It's for hire. And then they've got all the old stuff that they're doing as well. You know, the classics. We've got Mustafa doing his magical drum class with the African drumming. Or you want to take care of your fitness, we've got extreme hip hop. Or we've got the caveman group training. Trust me, they test you. And then we've got the ceremonial ecstatic dance through Arinyane, done by the incredible Wizardry. And that one, the magic that he weaves, my words are pointless. You have to come and experience it. We've even got the sound baths, or if you're Ruben, a sound waterfall. And you know, I like using them hammocks as well. So we've got floating meditation journeys, hammock, meditation, music, take you on a story of epicness, if that's a word. We've even got cacao ceremony before it, and transmorphic breathwork comes in as well, just to make sure you're right in the zone before you even get in that hammock. And then we got the old stuff as well, like workshops with Art of the Cosmos. I went to the grief one where you're allowed to release through TRE, or the naturopathic nutrition. The amount of different stuff they've got going on. The only way you're actually going to know is go down to transmutestudio.co.uk and have a little look, because that's where creativity meets awareness, and they both play. Well, thanks for coming on to Who on Earth. We've been chatting about it for a little while, haven't we, Amy?
We have indeed. Happy to be here.
We just had a lovely cacao, didn't we? I'm feeling open and ready. Who on earth is Amy Proudfoot, eh? Or as I used to have you saved in my phone, any Proudfoot.
Any Proudfoot?
Not just
any old Proudfoot.
Any old Proudfoot, no.
Well, the Proudfoot you've got today is the cacao version.
The cacao version.
Feeling very open.
You said you just done a meditation this morning as well. That's making you feel very...
Yeah, I woke up multiple times in the night, and when I wake up after a really crappy sleep and I do a meditation, I'm just a whole new person. I'm just vibing at a different level, and that is my saving grace, and it's something that I always rely on. And it's like how much am I really relying on that one thing? What if I woke up with a blocked nose or a sore throat?
I actually know how to clear that.
Really?
Yeah. So basically what you'll do is you'll breathe in through the nose, breathe out, and then on the out breath you hold the nose and you move your head. So for those who can't see, get on the YouTube video. Don't know how we got onto that so quickly, but if you do that 3 or 4 times, it actually clears your sinuses. So there you go, listeners. A little bit. But now let's get on to who on earth is Amy Proudfoot. So the way we usually do it, we're going to start with where you've come from. Then we're going to transition to some of the stories, some of the obstacles, some of the achievements. But let's start, where is it that Amy Proudfoot comes from?
So I get asked this question quite a lot, like, oh, where are you from? And it's like, not really from anywhere in particular, a bit of a mongrel really, a bit of a hybrid. So I originally grew up in Kidsgrove, which is a tiny little town in Stoke, for 10 years. And I changed schools quite a lot throughout my childhood. And it's just because as a family, my mum and my dad and my brother, we just moved house. So I was constantly moving schools. So a lot of change throughout my childhood.
So you didn't really have that stable, structured, that's where I am.
Yeah, I didn't have that stable structure, and actually a lot of that plays out in my current life.
Of course it does, yeah.
I'm constantly flitting from place to place. I like to live by the seat of my pants, to put it lightly. But yeah, I lived in so many different places. Went to an all girls school in Sandbach.
Okay.
Which was pretty interesting actually. I didn't discover boys until I was around 16 when my GCSEs just hit. And between my GCSEs and choosing boys, I chose boys, I think, at that stage, because I was just open to a whole new realm. And I didn't get the grades that I wanted, but
I mean, I can relate to the whole not knowing the other sex as well as you should, because I went to an all boys school.
Oh really?
Yeah. See, I was different though. I used to wag it, or true, whatever you call it. What's it called, like truant or whatever it is.
You were true. So you used to skip school.
Yeah, that's basically what I used to do.
You smoking behind the bike sheds or whatever.
What I'd do is I'd go to the girls' school and go to the gates and be like, who wants to come and chill with us? And obviously the girls were like, ooh, let's go. And then we just go off and do stuff.
Did you go? Which boys' school did you go to?
Do you know where like?
No.
Yeah, it's near the Trafford Centre. For those who don't know Manchester well, it's like this massive shopping centre, but it's like Urmston Ways.
Right.
Yeah, it's in between being posh and scroty.
I think I was between the in between posh and scroty side as well.
Probably why we get on then.
Yeah, probably.
You've got that banter side, but then that reverent side as well. Well, anyway, less about me. So, how was it for you growing up in terms of, like you said, you're moving around loads, you've not interacted with boys. How's that playing out in your life at that time?
Well, in fact, I'm gonna go right back to the beginning. Actually, when I was in primary school, I was a bit of a loner.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got heavily bullied as a child because my mother always taught me and my brother to grow up, say our P's and Q's, to be extra polite. She definitely wrapped us up in cotton wool, but she was a really good mother. You know, she really, I guess ingrained at that age a certain set of standards into us.
Okay.
Where, we were always making sure that we were in integrity as children, as integral as you can when you wild and you're in awe of the whole world. But, it was fairly, I wouldn't say restricted. We ate very well. We ate like a very healthy diet. You know, school uniform wise, I wore boys' shoes to school, which, you know, made me stand out in terms of being a girl. It was like, oh, she's the girl that wears boys' shoes, and the reason for that is because my mum didn't want me to get squashed feet.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I was a little bit of a geek, I guess. I was very into music. I'd spend the majority of my break times in the music block as opposed to talking about boys and braiding my hair. I was a tomboy.
You weren't the average.
I wasn't the average kid. I was playing on Game Boys as opposed to playing with Barbies, you know.
Yeah.
I was a real tomboy.
I mean,
climbing trees, getting dirty. That was me.
That's my show, but I suppose I'm a lad, so it's expected. Whereas for you, were they not really holding you the way that you needed to be held? Because it sounds like you said you got bullied quite a bit.
Well, it's weird, really. I was being very authentic as a child from the get-go, and
as you should.
And because I was always empowered to be like that from my family, because I mean, my family are very, I would say, out there in terms of expression. My mum's side of the family, my granddad was very, he had his own spiritual practice, and he lived in a commune for a number of years.
Okay.
And my Christmases would consist of us like dancing around the fire, him playing the didgeridoo. We're all dressing up in crazy outfits and just like being wild kids, and like that's how we grew up. And that. You know, he lived in his camper for a while, and we took long walks on the beach in Wales on the weekend with him, and I was just very outdoorsy and very, very earthy as a child. And when I got to school, I felt very suppressed, and I desperately wanted to be liked, but I didn't enjoy doing the things that the other kids did. Yeah. And, you know, I guess...
You get ostracised, I imagine, for being different.
Ostracised for being a little bit different. And, you know, I was a bit of a class clown. I like to crack dad jokes, probably. I think at that stage, I think my jokes were pretty poor.
I'm here for it. The shit of the joke, the more I laugh.
Yeah, I do remember being a bit of a class clown and yeah, just maybe getting picked on a bit. However, I do remember when I was 15, I was in the ACF at the time, Army Cadet Force.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard of that. But
no, I did dabble a little bit, so yeah.
Yeah, most people went into the Air Cadets.
That was the one I went to a few. Then they tried giving us homework, and I was like,
yeah, you existed homework. It's wild.
But go on, how did it play out for you?
Yeah, so with the Army Cadets, I needed to like transmute this real like tomboy energy, because I had a lot of energy at that age, and well, still do, but into something meaningful. And Army Cadets gave me that structure, and it allowed me to play a certain role of being an authority, because I was a Lance Corporal actually at that time.
And well done.
Yeah, and it made me feel like I belonged, because I was part of a tribe of other people that liked to do similar things to me, so I very much enjoyed it. During that time, I met my first proper boyfriend, and he was a little bit older than me. He was like 17, I was like 15. And
which is like light years, isn't it, at that age?
Yeah, it's like light years.
He's a man.
And I was just like, wow, how have I pulled this? But as soon as I got a boyfriend, I think I was one of the only girls within my year at school to have a boyfriend so early. And because he was a lot older, all of a sudden I turned into the cool kid. And I started to, you know, dress a bit more feminine and like, you know, straighten my hair. And I think I started to get ripped at that stage. I had a six-pack. And yeah, I just all of a sudden became this overnight celebrity at school. And I still didn't break my authenticity even then, because I kind of looked at the girls that bullied me trying to suck up to me, and I thought, well, I still don't want to give in. I'm still not I feel wounded. I feel a little bit wounded from the years of bullying that I've endured. Rejection and judgment, and having to live up to this certain expectation of what good enough looked like to be a girl, be the popular girl, the cool girl in school. And I wasn't adhering to that, and I just felt this real resistance. So
see, I actually think you're cooler for all that. You know, like being that person who's going to the granddad's didgeridoo it and going out and climbing and doing all those great Game Boy in it. Like, to me, that's cooler than just wearing some clothes, not acting like yourself, trying to look like how you want everyone else to think you should look. Like, it's draining, right?
Yeah, it's draining. I always felt this. I was a real truth seeker, even as a child. Not rebellious in any sort. I'm not really rebellious, but maybe more so. Like from the quiet corner, I was just kind of like, leave me alone. I just want to do what I want to do. I want to make myself happy in the way that serves me, and I just want to be liked. But at the same time, don't make me do something I don't want to do.
Not at the expense
of my authenticity. Yeah. I'm never going to slowly abandon myself and what I enjoy to appease other people. And that's played out throughout my entire life. And I've always been a firm believer in really standing in your true authenticity, because you attract the people that are meant for you.
Well, we were talking about it, weren't we? When we were having a cow, like, how are you meant to attract people who resonate with the same vibration as you if you're not even acting like you? You're going to attract a load of people who don't like the real you. So now you're stuck in a crowd of people who don't like the real you, and you're not massively a fan of them. So it kind of goes against it. But it's more like a primal thing, that being part of a tribe. I think that goes really deep for us.
100%. You know, as humans, we have this deep need to belong to a tribe and to feel understood and seen in our true authenticity. And when we experience that, we experience the resonance, you know, with another human being. And that, for me, is the purest form of, I guess, self-love, but also, you know, showing that love to another person. That
well, I feel like
full circle.
Love's acceptance, right? It's fully accepting yourself or accepting someone else, but you can't accept someone else if you don't fully accept yourself.
Exactly.
For a 16-year-old, that's usually quite difficult. How did it play out once you left school? Where did we go from there?
Where did we go from there? So I had my boyfriend for a couple of years, and I think I then got a bit of an ego, and I started to go down the inauthentic route. And I remember I was very chasey, I'm going to say, with trying to find, I was constantly seeking approval, constantly seeking affection and attention from boys. And it was very graspy, you know, it was a really weird energy at that stage. And that continued throughout my 20s. I began to drink excessively and every single weekend. And it became this pattern of, you know, me constantly seeking affection, admiration and validation from boys or men, and then not receiving that and getting blind drunk to the point where I didn't care. Or getting blind drunk to the point where, you know, I would maybe put myself out there and seem desperate and seek out those unions with men throughout my 20s. And that's how it played out for me for 10 years. And it was only when I hit 30 that I realised why that played out. And it was due to the lack of love that I received from my father as a child. And it wasn't in any way his fault, but it was just him coping with the tools that he had at the time to be able to show me the love that I needed from the capacity that he had to, you know. So
he was doing his best.
He was doing his best.
But clearly that left a void within you, which you were then trying to fill.
Exactly. And I mean, at this time throughout my 20s, I was working in a 9-to-5. I think I was working in a call centre.
Oh, I can relate.
Mobile phone insurance.
Oh, I was PPI.
Yeah, I think I did that at one stage.
Have you ever had a loan, mortgage or credit card in the past 15 years? Fuck off.
Oh, God. Yeah.
How was that for you, by the way? Because I don't know about you, but I found it, like, it was torture being in an office.
It was soul destroying. I think I'd turn up on it. I always had a Saturday day shift once a month, and I'd always turn up in the clothes from the night before. because I just didn't care about the job in any way, shape or form. And I'd come patrolling in and I'd sit and I'd do my job on autopilot. I didn't have to think about it. It was easy money.
Easiest money, yeah.
Easy money, done. But yeah, I can't remember what I was saying now. Yeah, so I worked in this job 9 to 5. I was eat, sleep, gym, repeat.
Okay.
And I was on that hamster wheel and it was real comfortable. And I was just kind of like going with the flow, back to back Friday and Saturday nights, getting absolutely blind drunk, taking, you know, copious amount of drugs at the time as well to block out this weird void that I felt when I wasn't working. It's like, oh, I don't want to be alone because I feel a little bit uneasy and I don't know why. I don't like my own company. That was my standard mantra that I tell myself and other people. I don't like being on my own. I don't like my own company. It's like, but why?
I'm definitely seeing a lot of patterns behaviour because I was the same. Lots of drugs, lots of drink. Yeah. I'd get to Friday and if I couldn't find somebody to go out with, I'd start scraping the bottom of the barrel, if that makes sense. And not anything against those people, but the way I seen it was I was not, like, we're not even friends. I just kind of know you. That's how desperate I get.
Yeah.
Like, anybody, just don't make it so I have to sit inside and not be distracted probably was the main thing from that. Like you were saying, that feeling, just don't make me sit with that.
Yeah, don't make me, and I'd just get on the multi-text and I'd text everyone in my phone book the same message. Are you out tonight? And that would be the standard procedure every single Friday and Saturday night. And
it's the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's the same for a lot of people. And I felt this disease as well when I wasn't, not disease in my body when I wasn't at work. Who was I? When I didn't have the label of being the fun party girl or the girl at work who, you know, was a little bit fly by night, a little bit of a class clown who, you know, had this certain label. I think at the time I was like a supervisor or something like that of a team at work. Like, who was I when I wasn't these two people? And I didn't really know. You know, I didn't really know. I didn't have any extracurricular activities that I did outside of work, you know, any hobbies. And I saw a lot of people, you know, playing the guitar and, you know, playing tennis or doing this and that. And it didn't interest me. It didn't interest me because I'd never really delved deep into it. And even if I did try something, I'd kind of get bored after one little session and just revert back to my old way of being because it made me feel comfortable. And doing anything out of that discomfort seemed boring to me. I'd do multiple personality tests on the internet trying to figure out who I was. I'd honestly ask multiple people, what do you think I should be doing? Should I do this? Do you think I should do that? What, like, if you could sum me up in a sentence, what would you say? You know, just constantly seeking validation in external things to try and figure out who I was inside. But the truth was, I didn't know who I was because I was constantly masking that person or the emotions that wanted to come out with alcohol. And it's just like a bubbling pot, you know. You can try and put the lid on a bubbling pot, but eventually it's going to bubble over. And that's exactly what happened at the age of 30.
Okay. How did that play out?
So I've been on a bit of a roller coaster over 10 years and, you know, I had some great experiences. Like I actually ran club nights in my 20s with an ex-partner. So as you can imagine, my life was very colourful and the partying was very colourful and, you know, the kind of interactions that I had with people in the world, like the relationships that I held with certain people were chaotic, and my life was just kind of chaotic at that time. But
it's like one extreme to the other, almost like really happy, really sad, and all in
very
between.
Very reactive. No self-care routine at all. It was just kind of like,
well, we're not taught that in school. By the way, do your meditation, do your breath work, do your yoga. There's not even a thing where I went anyway.
No, definitely not. We just had maybe a couple of meetings a year where, you know, if you were struggling with your mental health, you can reach out to this telephone number on a leaflet, which you're never going to call because you're not taught about, you know, exploring your internal world and finding out the why behind the way that you're feeling. And no one wants to sit in a crusty room and, you know, speak about their feelings. As a young kid, you want to do things that are fun, and you know, you're not.
Yeah, you don't want to go into the darkness. You don't realise how it's impacting your life, probably even at that point.
Yeah, and you don't really care.
Was there any, just before we speak about the pot bubbling over, is there anything else we missed out in the 20s? You said you ran club nights. I don't want to just gloss over something that might be quite just only a decade.
There's only a decade. I mean, I'm thinking back. So I'm all about being raw and open and honest, and yeah, I had a relationship with someone for 4.5 years, and at the time it was very much two best friends just partying together, really. If I think about it, we lived together, but I have ADHD, and he did as well, so we were kind of egging each other on to be constantly grasping for these real shiny things and going 1,000,000 miles an hour through life. He very much was a club promoter, and most weekends he would go missing. And at the beginning, I kind of found it really fun and really, you know, exciting, because it was spontaneous and what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next. But after a while, I started to descend a little bit, and, you know, I felt like I wanted to settle down and maybe have children and get married. And this was maybe at the age of 28. And we actually together went traveling for a short period of time. We went to Thailand, we went to Vietnam and Myanmar, and we did all Southeast Asia backpacking, came back home. And when I came back home, I was like, yeah, this is the guy, even though he's a little, you know, out there, and I'm kind of a little bit out there as well, but I feel like this is it. And I really wanted to settle down, but there wasn't a meet. We weren't on the same path. Basically, he was still doing that, and I wanted to.
Well, you can still really like someone, even love them, but realise that you're just not quite aligned with.
Just wasn't aligned. It wasn't that anyone was right or wrong.
Just not quite. Just wrong. Maybe even the right person at the wrong time. You never know.
But I mean, the me now. If I was to give my past me some advice, I'd say, girl, don't waste your time with something that is not aligned, because it will be a never-ending, exhausting mission. So just leave it. And
rip the plaster off.
Rip the plaster off and get the hell out of there. But anyway, we ended up deciding that we wanted to go to Australia again. So we had visited Australia previously. We went back to Australia, and you know, it was very normal for me to most weekends experience loneliness and abandonment. Okay. But I seek that because that's what happened in my childhood. It's familiar. So it was normal to me, and I didn't see it as an issue. And, you know, if everything was almost too flat and perfect, it would make me feel a little unsafe. Right. Because I got addicted to the stress of not knowing, of being in the unknown.
Have you heard of Brené Brown?
I have. She's an incredibly powerful
one thing
woman.
She said is one of the hardest things to sit with is contentment, is joy, is happiness. And the reason for that is when you had it in the past, at some point it inevitably has to get taken away. It makes it drop a lot further. So it's sort of as a defense mechanism. When you are content, when you are joyful, something comes in to go take it away a little bit, just to sort of lessen the fall when it gets ripped away.
It's just the pendulum of life. Inevitably it's going to swing at one point, but are you prepared to, you know, face that perceived setback, or is it just everything coming back into alignment?
Well, just and it's just about accepting the ride and not just being attached to, like you said when you're younger, just wanting the happiness. And I feel like whatever stands in the way can become the way. You know, if something I perceive as bad happens within my life, maybe it's just me having the strength to, you know, deviate in another direction and find
joy in the change.
Well, it's a very stoic way of thinking that.
Yeah.
Where is the opportunity in this obstacle?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're a victim to the moment. But
Yeah.
you're actually saying, what's the lesson? What path is this taking me down? So I think we're about at the point where the pot's bubbling over, weren't we?
We're on the cusp.
Wow.
So
go on, tell us.
So anyway, I had just got to Australia, super excited. There was a moment where I was like, hey, I don't know if this is going to play out well, but I'm just going to see what happens. I went on a night out. I, again, lost my ex, and it just so happened that his battery went on his phone. I couldn't get into my apartment. It was just like the chaos, it was just the standard procedure that happened, on nights out. And I ended up getting completely locked out of my apartment. And I actually ended up taking refuge in this little doorway because it was raining. And this woman walked past me and she said, "Are you okay?" This was like at 10 at night. And I was thinking, wow, like the heavens opened and this angel's just appeared. Because she started to talk to me and she said, "Look, you can sleep on my couch if you want because you don't have anywhere to stay." I was like, okay, that's cool. So I slept on a couch. The next morning she dropped me off, and my idea was, in order for me to get into my apartment, I'm going to wait for someone to walk out and then going to walk in and then go all the way up the stairs, and hopefully, fingers crossed, someone's in there. I can knock on the door and get in. That was my idea. So anyway, I waited and waited. Someone came out. I went in. I got to the top of the stairs, opened the door. I went into my bedroom and no one was there. It's like, this is very odd. I don't know where anyone is. And then I walked into the lounge, and red-handed, I caught him with somebody else. But it was a lesson. And from that point, I thought, okay, I've probably had signs that this isn't right for a very long time. And I've just got to Australia. I have a year's visa here. I've got two options. I can either go home and I can go back to what I was already doing, or I can stay here and try and figure out an idea of a life. I don't know anyone. I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel pretty scared right now, but I'm just going to make it work. My idea of making it work was getting a job and blocking out all the pain with drugs and alcohol. And the pot was starting to get pretty hot. I mean, I was probably out of control at this stage. And it was getting to the point where I was just losing all of my things, my bank card, my passport. I was smashing my phone, I'd wake up not knowing how I got home. And, I was a female solo traveller. As much as I wanted to think, I had some friends around me and I was okay. I was still in a different country, and something happened to me that I'd not dealt with, and that trauma definitely manifested in my body. And I remember one day I went on a little day trip to Jervis Bay, which is this beautiful little bay just between Melbourne and Sydney. And I went with some friends, and I remember walking around and feeling really hungry. At that stage in my life, I was starving myself because I didn't feel ever skinny enough. I didn't feel pretty enough. I just didn't feel enough in myself. And at that stage, I was probably weighing around 7 stone,
Really?
5'7". Yeah, maybe a little bit more, but I was very light. I was very frail. And I just remember being really hungry, and I was just walking through this town, and all of a sudden I started to feel this pounding on my chest, and it was just going out of control. And I looked at my friend and I said, I'm having a heart attack. I don't know what's happening in my body, but I need to sit down, please. I was like, just hold me. And she hugged me, and I couldn't stop having this, what felt like a heart attack, but it was a panic attack. Really didn't know at that stage what it was, but I called the ambulance and they came out, and actually what they said to me was I had agoraphobia. And I was like, what is that? we Googled it, and it's the fear of being outdoors or the fear of social situations. And my personality type at that stage was extremely anxious from all the toxins I was putting into my body. I was, hanging on to every single word that this guy said. So that became my new reality. I told myself I was agoraphobic, so I probably became agoraphobic. But actually, what happened that day was a nervous breakdown. So my body completely broke. And I remember all the way home from that point, I was having a panic attack and it wouldn't stop. And when I got inside, all of a sudden it subsided and I felt this instant sigh of relief. I just felt so calm, and I just brushed it off and thought, yeah, it's just an incident. It happened and it's going to be fine when I wake up in the morning. So Monday morning, woke up, got ready for work, felt a little bit weird from what happened the day before. Went down the stairs, opened the door, bang. Again, straight away, panic attacks. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how I was going to leave the house. I was a million miles away from home. I had, friends in Australia, but at the same time, I built up this personality, this persona that was very much the party girl, the girl who put on a brave face, who never felt vulnerable, who was strong. And now I felt completely crushed. I felt crushed because I didn't know what to do, and I felt scared about telling my parents, about telling my family about what was going on, because I didn't want to worry them at the time. So the only way that I could figure out a way out was by taking sleeping tablets to try and numb out the pain. So I took 2 diazepam. I was completely dosed up, and I tried to get to my friend's house, who was off work at the time, to take refuge for 3 days. And I said, I don't know what's going on in my body, but I need to, speak to a doctor. I went to the doctors and they said, oh, just carry on taking diazepam, you'll be fine. So for 2.5 months, I was dosed up at work on sleeping tablets. I could barely hold my head up. I used to walk to work with my contact lenses out of my eyes so I couldn't see where I was going or see people because it would freak me out. Every time I had a meeting in work, I could feel my whole body just crunching up, wanting to burst into a panic attack, and I just had to hold it in. Something was happening in my body and I wasn't allowing it to be there. I didn't want to look inside. And at this stage, I stopped drinking because I realised when I did drink, the anxiety would amplify.
The drink that was the first thing I ended up cutting out. That was in Australia, coincidentally. It's just, if you're in a bad place, the last thing you want is a fucking hangover.
Last thing you want is a hangover, exactly. It just amplifies it. And as much as, when I did drink, the sweetness that I felt in my body when I completely neutralised all of this weird, panicky energy was incredible momentarily.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But the next day, it just amplified and it got worse, and the overthinking and the catastrophizing and it was really intense. And, as a wellness coach, and breathwork coach now, the reason that I went into this line of work is so I could understand what happened in my life, but also to help empower others to self-heal. I know that when you put any intoxicant in the body, you're increasing the cortisol levels and the stress response, right? So it's all about self-care and rest.
Did that start in Australia?
Well, it didn't actually. So I decided to get a ticket home. It was the best thing to do at that time. I got home and I thought, I know what it is. I know what's going to solve this. I'm going to go home, I'm going to see my mum, and everything's going to be fine. I just miss my parents. As soon as I saw my mum, I actually felt extremely, extremely anxious again.
Okay.
Because I was worried that she would think that I was acting weird and I wasn't the same person. So yeah, my body was stuck in flight mode.
I was going to say.
It was stuck. and there was no way of reverting it back.
Sounds like you just get survival mode constantly.
Constantly
Which
in
just
survival mode.
isn't maintainable.
It wasn't maintainable. But I lived on my mum's futon, right, when I got home. I was like, I'm futon life, give it to me. When I was inside, actually, I felt relatively calm. And after a while, I got used to my mum's presence.
Yeah, okay.
You know, she would make me food. I started at that point to look after myself a little more because I felt slightly more safe going for runs in the morning, eating well.
Are you tired of feeling run down? Maybe you're struggling with some sort of health condition, or it could be as simple as you're not reaching your fullest potential. Well, I found a solution. Isabella Nutrition's here to transform your life, show you the incredible healing power of nature. Let me just introduce to you Isabella Bradford Johnson, a skilled naturopathic nutritionist with a passion for showing you how to achieve optimum health, well-being, with tailor-made nutrition and lifestyle plans. She'll show you how to fill your life with vitality, renewed energy. Now, Isabella firmly believes that your body holds the key to your healing. She just wants to show you how to unlock it. Through the power of lifestyle and diet changes, Isabella will show you how to heal from within. Be that best version of yourself. Now, whether you're looking to improve your overall health or target a specific area, maybe it's gut or hormonal issues where she specialises, Isabella will have expert guidance and support to show you how to have a future filled with joy. Now, it's not about quick fixes, short-term solutions. No, it's about long-term transformation, sustainable results. So stop waiting to take care of your health. Go down to www.isabellabradfordjohnsonnutritionist.uk. Book a consultation with Isabella today. Embark on a journey filled with health, vitality, lasting well-being. Isabella Nutrition, empowering you to live your healthiest life.
I started to delve into a little bit of meditation. I was like, this breathing in and breathing out thing's going to make me feel calm. I was like, all right, I'll give it a go.
My mate's like, I only know how to breathe, mate. And I'm like, there's ways. I know how to do a kick up, but I'm not Ronaldo.
Honestly, I just 2 minutes of meditation used to drive me nuts.
Right? Like, literally, because I think with the ADHD, like, just constantly needing to, and then not being able to sit with how you, all that.
Yeah, just fidgeting around. And
2 minutes to me as well. And I teach it, was like, at first, it was unbearable.
Sit with my own thoughts for a prolonged period of time.
What are you talking about? You're mad. I just did it to start trying to get to sleep. And then I started feeling like it didn't really help with sleep. It was more like I just started being interested in how I felt. Rather than, that little shift of how do I maintain or control or whatever. It was, that's actually quite an interesting sensation, that. And then I just got more and more, I can do 5 minutes, which comes from being familiar. But how long did that take you? Because you say in 2 minutes was like a nightmare.
Well, actually, at first, the meditation amplified my anxiety because this is from my point of view, experiencing trauma, when your consciousness is heightened, you're more conscious of the outside world.
Well, you literally, it goes, oh, you're finally going to listen, you're finally going to feel. The floodgates open.
Yeah. And I remember leaving my mum's house, and after a 2-minute meditation, coming outside and just whipping straight back inside and hiding. And I thought, I'm not going to try that again. But over time, my body had to learn to trust me. And I was like a baby learning to crawl for the first time, having to learn to go to the shop by myself for the first time, having to learn to catch the train, catch the bus, having to learn to speak on the phone and, try and get a job. That was another thing. I was like, I need to make some money.
So everything you were taking for granted now was like
everything.
This relearning. How was that for you then, going through that?
It was, honestly, from someone who had come from a very high energy, high performance sales background, because that's what I was doing in Sydney, to go into being afraid of my own shadow and feeling like I had a gun to my head 99.9% of the time, pretty tough. I just felt like I was merely existing, and I was just trapped in the walls of my own trauma every single day.
It's a good line.
Yeah, it was horrific. And yeah, I got to the point where I just had enough, and I actually thought, I don't know what I'm going to do, but this reality right now, I ain't vibing with it. It's not how I want to live the rest of my life. What is it that I really want? And I actually found a book by Susan Jeffers called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Have you read that?
I've not heard of that one yet.
It's honestly incredible.
I've got a list of books that I need to get, so I will pop that in and I'll let you know when I get down to it.
Add it to the list. It's incredible. But Susan talks about the importance of exposure therapy and how by stepping into that one thing and doing the one thing that you're afraid of can actually help reverse the effects of trauma or stress or fear in the body by exposure therapy, right? So I sat with myself and I was like, right, what is the one thing that I'm scared of apart from being here, existing in this body, and going to the shop to buy milk or just doing general tasks day to day? What's the one thing I'm scared of most in the world? Because I'm going to do it. At this point, I don't care whether I live or die. I really had got to breaking point. And the idea came to my head that I was going to go solo traveling. And it seemed crazy at the time. Who would go solo traveling in that state? Like, who would do it? But I didn't care. So what I did was I booked a one-way ticket to Italy. And I went on a website called workaway.com.
Okay.
And workaway.com, or it might be .org, I don't know, but it allows you to work in exchange for accommodation.
That's what my girlfriend did. She went to Thailand, I think it was, and that's where she started, just working on their land. They'd feed her, and it's
it's a great little exchange.
Yeah. So how was it for you?
Oh, I mean, the getting there process was interesting. So obviously my mum was absolutely mortified, and I said, look, I gotta do this. I have to. There's no other way, because I believe this woman has, experience in this field. And
something about her resonated. You trusted her, and you were like, it's either misery.
You got to read the testimonials. I read the testimonials, and I was like, these people have healed. I'm going on that plane, right? So I organised to go and renovate a 400-year-old Tuscan villa in Italy, in the Tuscan Alps. And this beautiful family organised for me to come over. It was a guy called Paolo and his daughter Sylvia. The most beautiful family. Honestly, they changed my life. They were definitely the people that influenced a large fraction of who I am today. So I got on the plane and instantly, boom, the panic started to form, and I was like, what can I do to subside it? And I just grabbed the alcohol. Like, I was downing glasses of wine to try and subside this feeling. And I just thought to myself, if I can just get to this mountain, with a glass of wine in my hand, I'll be all right. I just need to get past this little part. So, missed out a little bit of the story. I also have family in Italy. So the beginning of my trip was meeting my Italian family that I've never met.
I've got Italian vibes.
I've got Italian vibes.
Yeah.
I've got Italian vibes. Yeah. So I actually had Italian family, cousins, and a great aunt that I'd never met in my life that lived in Milan. And I just thought, if I'm going to do this volunteering thing, right, I'm at least going to go and visit them, because it might help subside a bit of the alcohol, the alcohol dependency or the feeling of worry in my body. So I first of all went to see them. I still was very alcohol dependent on the plane, and I was crapping myself. I just thought, I'm gonna just drink my way through this first part until I get to the mountain, right? So I did see them. I spent time with them for a couple of days. It was incredible. I felt instantly like I'd met my soul family. Italians, they've got a big heart. They're very, very expressive. And I feel like regardless of whether you're a second cousin, third cousin, aunt, uncle, we're all brothers and sisters. They literally welcomed me in like I was part of the pack. And the language barrier was very apparent, but 80% of the Italian language is with the
I was
hands.
going to say, my girlfriend's stepmom's Italian is very like...
Yeah.
And do you know what? Only 8% of what you say really is how you communicate.
Exactly.
Most of
your
it's
energy.
body language, most of it's tone of voice.
Yeah. Read my energy first, and energy tells 1,000 stories.
Yeah, I could chat with you for half an hour and then we could go dance. Now we're talking.
Yeah, let's have a cacao. And
So I am mindful that we've got probably about 25 minutes left.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you a heads up because there are things like the sober socials, like your little Mexico
So
trip.
much.
So I want to make sure you're aware of that. But go on, tell us about Italy.
Yeah, so anyway, I saw my Italian family. It was great. I then went on my one-way mission to the Alps, and it was a very different experience. I was immersed in nature. I learned all about holistic healing, which I knew what I was coming into before I got there, which was the purpose of my trip really. And the exchange was that I, worked for 5 hours a day. I was gardening. I actually have a very quick funny story that I'd like to share. So the first night that I got to this mountain, I mean, I wasn't drunk at the time, but I was pretty anxious at this stage because I had been drinking the previous nights. But I arrived at like 6 p.m. and I kind of didn't know what to expect, but I knew the people that were coming to meet me were safe. And they picked me up, and the language barrier was very apparent. We were kind of picking up odd words here and there. And we sat at the dinner table and they said, "Oh, we must show you what you have to do tomorrow for your job." And at this point I was like, "Oh, don't make me leave this safe container. I don't want to go anywhere and do anything that's going to freak me out." But I, didn't have any say in it. And they walked me down the steps. They walked me outside through this really creepy shed into this like weird garden, and they started to dig a hole. And this is in the dead of night. And I thought they're going to bury me. They're going to bury me. I'm
mafia.
Yeah, I'm history. That's it. My number's up. But they were just teaching me how to dig a hole, and I was like, okay, that obviously makes sense. But yeah, my time there finished. I actually self-healed through daily yoga practice, through meditation, through the 5 Tibetans, if you've heard of that.
Go on, tell us.
The 5 Tibetans is a sequence that just opens up the body in various different ways, and it just creates complete balance. And that was very similar to yoga. But yeah, they just taught me all about holistic living, and I was hooked. I started to feel better. I started to feel more alive, a little less scared, a little bit more getting my zing and my zang back, and I went all the way over to Rimini because my grandmother and grandfather met on Rimini Beach, and technically I wouldn't exist if that had never occurred. So I went there, travelled around Italy, had the best time of my life, came back a renewed person, and I just got back into the daily grind and started working in sales again. But this time I felt very different. Okay. And I started to notice little cracks, because I'd healed some parts of myself. I started to notice when people were, reaching for alcohol, and that's cool because I just feel like no choice,
whatever works for you, it's your body, do what you need to do.
We all have our little crutches, and...
But it sounds like you'd sort of taken the pill. That Matrix.
Yeah, taking the pill.
I've seen the other side now, and it's just not quite the same as it was.
Yeah, and I felt like I knew this secret that no one else knew about. I was like, hey, the breathe out thing is actually really beneficial.
And just sitting with how you feel, open, just getting your hands in the dirt. Yeah. Just doing a bit of stretching and aligning that with the breath. Yeah. Just connecting with other people. Dance as well. I know how much the dance matters to you, and the shaking, all these different modalities. And you know what? They're all fucking free.
They're all free. And the liberation that I get from dancing sober and moving my body is just beyond joyful. I've had more joyful nights sober raving than I have in the depths of amnesia.
Especially when
in Ibiza,
especially when it's wizardry.
Especially when it's wizardry.
He's just been on. He's going to be the episode. I don't know if it's going to be right before you, depending how. depending how I place it, but yeah, we're going to Arignani and it's got that ceremony and we've just done the cacao ceremony and then he's got those hoonie cooing chants that he does, his flute work, and then maybe Nikki will turn up who we've had on with the hand pan and it's
just like contrast.
Yeah.
For me, that's one thing that I value actually in my life is contrast. Is the contrast between the sweet and the sour, the sadness and the joy,
well, it's the polarities. How do you know what hot is without cold? And
exactly.
Enjoying them both for however they present themselves.
I say that I really like, and that's something that I want to maintain throughout my life is the contrast. But yeah, just to kind of fast forward, I found this new way of living. I wanted to help people on a deeper level. I became a personal trainer. I, did my yoga teacher training. And actually, I went to Bali and did a Vipassana for 3 days.
Oh, so you did a 3-day one?
I did a 3-day. I didn't actually know I was going in for a Vipassana when I signed up for the yoga teacher training, because I do love to chat, so to speak. But it was probably one of the most pivotal moments in my life.
It's life-changing, isn't it?
Yeah. And like for anyone who's listening who's not aware of a Vipassana, it's where you sit with yourself for a certain amount of time and no communication of any kind, no talking, no
Noble
looking
silence.
in the mirror, just complete silence and no exertion of any kind.
It's meant to be so that there's no distraction.
So
that you can develop samadhi, this deep concentration of the mind. Did you do Anapana where you're just watching the breath in through the nose, out through the nose?
Well, we did a heart meditation where we would just, on every inhale, asking the question, who am I?
Okay.
And then every exhale, who am I? For 3 days.
Because mine was Goenka, which was 10 days of silence. You do 3.5 days, so about 35 hours just watching the breath in and the breath out. That's it. Then you do Vipassana, which is going through each part, and I got to the point where I could feel the atomic structure. I could feel like you said, it's in the body. Yeah. I can literally feel where the density is, where I've created blockages and the bits that aren't and the bits that I've numbed that I'm not even willing to experience. So it's nice to hear somebody tell me a different way, because there are different modalities.
There are different modalities, and that what I kind of got down to at my core was that really all I am, or all I want to be, or who I believe to be, is peace. At that stage, is just peace, and that's it.
Well, when I'm teaching my students, I always say your why needs to be more important than the what. Why am I meditating needs to be more important than I'm tired, then I can't be bothered, that there's loud noises. My why was, like I was telling you, everything's about sensation. So my why is the sensation of peace. Peace is not happiness, it's different. It's being content with the lower vibrations that are difficult to hold. And it's just about, like, outer peace would be me and you communicating. You don't have to be okay. You don't have to be okay for me to be okay. And it's just learning how to have that internal relationship as well. Yeah. And that just comes from sitting, being, understanding, processing, realising that these poor energies just want to express themselves. Just so happens that because we blocked them, the pot's boiling. And then panic. But then I got to the point where I could process a panic attack within stepping to the next table, which was mental, because I used to suffer from it so much as well. So everything you've been saying, I've had to bite my tongue, because I'm like, me too, me too. Like, you just me in a female's body. So I'm mindful though, we've got a few things that I want to fit in. Can you tell us a bit about Sober Socials? And
yes.
Even if that's not something you're necessarily going to spend too much time on, just what it was. And
it's my baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And this is what was blossomed from the Vipassana. So when I finally got down to I am peace, I'm like, okay, well, how can I create more peace within my life? And at the time I was working as a personal trainer, very long hours. And what I really wanted to do was to help people on a deeper level. So I had two choices. I could stay on Bali Beach, which is where I was doing my yoga teacher training, and drink coconuts, having a grand old time. Or I could go home with nothing. I could have, a lovely blow-up bed at my friend's house. No prospects, no money, no idea as to really how I'm going to build this idea of, wanting to spread light into the world. But I chose the tough option, when we've got the easy or the hard route. I always say the hard route is the most fulfilling. So
Josh says it's through the hardship that the ease comes. Otherwise, it's easy now, hardship later.
Yeah. I completely agree, because the more you invest in something, the more you, I guess, the more meaningful it becomes. It's just like when you spend a lot of time in a relationship, and even ones that aren't serving you, it's hard to break away because you've invested so much energy into it.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's why I really
That's why people
wanted
stay in jobs.
Yeah.
They hate, oh, you know, I've been here 10 years, I can't give up now.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, right, I want to really help people on a deep cellular level. So I slept on my mate's blow up bed, had the laptop, and I started to create this idea of sober social. And it just overnight just came to me. Literally everything fit together in synchronicity. Sober social is a experimental wellness experience. I'm saying this in like inverted commas.
For those who can't see the
They can't see the
fingers.
that helps people connect authentically without the need for alcohol. It's very much based on my story and how I struggled throughout my time living in corporate, working in corporate, living this crazy lifestyle where I was drinking excessively to find my true authentic self. And I was just following the crowd because I wanted to feel part of a tribe, like I belonged. And actually, Sober Social allows people to have a community of like-minded people around them who can support and uplift them, but also have a shitload of fun in the process.
Well, it's I went on that one. That's when me and you really connected, wasn't it? And we had breath work, we had going on a hike, we had cacao, we had cold water dipping, and just connecting with, like you said, those people who are similar and without needing anything else, just pure reality.
Yeah, just having fun and getting high naturally on these, want to call them healing modalities, but they're things that really help us thrive in life and help us unlock this little part of our brain and our human potential to think differently, to respond to the world as opposed to react. And it's just through, you know, these socials that I actually met some of my best friends, which is incredible. But we have two types of social. We have the indoor social, which is a little bit of a party vibe where we fuse two wellness experiences together, say yoga and breath work, and then we move on to an after party with mocktails and healthy food and dancing and, you know, a little bit of barefoot boogie and whatever it is. And we have an incredible time. And we've got the rewilding, where we get out into nature, we barefoot walk, we do breath work and cold water dipping, and we go for a little bit of pub grub afterwards. And it's incredible. It really is, and it's changed my life. So that is Sober Social, and I feel very honoured to be able to have created this, and just to...
Oh no, it's really like, it's all of it wrapped together, isn't it? Like, rather than just going and doing one thing, you've got them all there, so people can see which ones resonate with them. Yeah. Maybe they all do, maybe just one or two do. I also want to make sure that we fit in your little Mexico trip. So we haven't got long left.
Okay.
Give us in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. So my spiritual practice over the past year and a half is very much deepened. And I'm a very different person to who I was back then. And the reason for that is because I've deepened my Kundalini practice and I've opened up the nadis.
For someone who doesn't know what Kundalini is. Yeah,
so Kundalini is, so we have a Kundalini energy at the bottom of our spine it's a very potent energy, and once it's awoken can help us increase our conscious awareness, and that energy travels up the spine to the crown, and we can experience feelings of bliss, of ecstasy. I feel for me it helps me show up in a more charismatic way. I am able to, you know, magnetize more joy, like the joyful things in life, and be very clear on who it is that I am. It helps me feel more connected to my true self. And I have deepened my spiritual practice, and it got to the point where actually 8 weeks ago I was trying to get really clear on who I was and what I wanted to do, and I had this real calling that, you know, to go to Mexico. And I didn't have any logical reason for that. I just know I needed to go. And I was like, yeah, this is what my body wants right now. So I did a very sporadic thing because I believe that if you don't strike while the iron's hot, you can procrastinate a little bit. And I
I was
definitely
going to say, you're
have
very
the
decisive,
tendency-
very, like, once something matters to you, like, right, I'm doing it.
I'm doing it, and I'm very set in my ways. Like, try and stop me when I've made a decision, because it does take me a while to get to that point. But when I'm certain, I'm certain. And I was like, right, I'm pretty certain now, so I think I'm just going to get on a bus and go to Mexico. I'm just going to get on, literally in Manchester at 11 p.m. I got all my stuff. I got on a bus all the way to Dover, got on at Dover, over to France, got to Paris, and I booked a one-way ticket to Mexico. So
As you do.
Yeah, hadn't slept, felt pretty exhausted, but very, very certain that this was the path for me. And I went to Mexico, but the intention before I got there was actually that I wanted to film a Netflix documentary. Just like that. And when the Kundalini energy awakens, or this is how it's played out for me, I'm not saying everyone else, but what I came to discover was that anything that I really thought with emotion came into the physical very quickly.
Very important that you mentioned emotion. We were talking about it. That's your fuel, otherwise it's empty word, it's empty thoughts.
And I'm a very, very passionate person. So through Shakti dancing, like, you know, really amplifying the energy, bringing that energy all the way up to the crown, through like deep sessions of breath work, through drinking cacao, I got myself to this peak state where I almost felt fearless. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with this sensation. The body is so new to me. And for someone all those years ago, 6 years ago, who was so suppressed, scared of her own shadow, wanted to travel but didn't have the confidence and had to drink through it, to feeling completely fearless, it was exciting, right?
Yeah.
And I really wanted to gift that girl the freedom she never had. So I decided to go to Mexico, and I felt crazy, actually, at the time. I felt crazy because there was no logical reason for me going, other than I wanted to film a Netflix documentary. But where's the planning in that? But when I got to Mexico, I, on the first night, got to a hostel. And I was just chilling in one of the bunks, and a girl walks in. And we got talking, went out for some food. And as part of my manifestation practice, I'm a firm believer in whatever you visualize and you repeatedly revisit and rehearse, you know, will come into the physical gradually. You know, it depends how much emotion you put behind it. But I had the Netflix logo on my screensaver on my phone. She went, what's that? That's pretty interesting. What's that all about? Talk to me. So I talked to her about my idea for a Netflix documentary. Really what I would love to do, and it's still my intention, I'm still getting out there and doing it, is to document me healing my own trauma by going to South America and sitting with various different plant medicines to try and unravel who it is that I am underneath all of these layers, because I still believe that there's a deep-rooted trauma that needs to be addressed. I can feel it. It's literally here in my
The master medicines are just they know how to get to that spot.
Yeah.
And sometimes some people call it like a hack. It's just a way of using them to get to a point, unleash it, and with intention, very important, with intention and integration afterwards.
Yeah.
That's where the healing comes from. But it'll be very interesting to see somebody on a journey of that, which is done in a professional way, which you were saying is very important to you.
Like a very ethical way. And how the reason how I know I have this trauma, what makes me believe I have it, is it's playing out in my relationships with men. In romantic relationships, I can't remember the last time I really felt safe. And this is just an old narrative that I have the power to rewrite. And I truly believe I deserve happiness in a union, in a loving union with a man. And, you know, I've got to that point now where I'm, not that age matters, but I'm 36, and I feel like I want to be in a deep, meaningful relationship with someone, and to love unconditionally and be loved unconditionally. And the only way I can do that is by addressing this. So anyway, to get to the story, I really want to document this. I think it would be great to break these generational patterns within my family, but also to give my children a new start in life and to not carry over any of my traumas, and for me to not play that out within their life. It's so important. It means the most to me.
No, it's really, I think every adult who's thinking of having children or even getting into deep relationships, well then what are you passing on? So I think that's really important.
And it's like, I drank to suppress a lot of my addictions. And I think there's a large fraction of our society who band-aid their traumas with, these crutches.
Self-medication.
Self-medication. Yeah. I've been there. It's cool. We do it. It's just how we've been conditioned. And actually, when are we going to take that band-aid off and actually have a look at our traumas and maybe understand it?
It's why I'm so passionate about sharing people like yourself. We've all been through it in our own unique way. But I'm a big believer in showing that there is different ways up the mountain. Your way might be resonating with loads of people, whereas David Morris is different, Will Barton, all these different people. So the more people I can get out there, the more people are, I relate with that. And they did, and on the sober socials. So I'm mindful of time, sorry, I just don't want you to get cut off right at the end. So tell us just the end of that story. And then
so the end of the story is, this girl, Trixie, she actually asked me about the reason, my why into the Netflix documentary. I told her, and she turned to me and she said, "You do know I work for Netflix." I was like, what? That's crazy. That is crazy. Of course you do. Of course you do. Why else would the universe send me on this absolutely crazy mission at 11 p.m. at night and go all the way to Paris, book a one-way ticket to Mexico, and end up here with no idea as to what I'm doing? So, yeah, I guess if there was a takeaway from this little story, it's no matter how crazy your intuition or that gut feeling, that, hunch may seem, maybe follow it. Be intrigued, be curious, and see where it leads you. Saying jump on a bus and go to Mexico, but maybe.
Well, what I like to do is I have this impulse, then I meditate on it.
Yes.
So I get into balance, because a balance to me is the only one who's going to make life-changing decisions. I won't do it out of heightened emotion states.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stop a friendship because of anger. I wouldn't chase somebody out of just heightened affection. It has to be back to balance. But then if my intuition is going, serious, dude, take action, otherwise that procrastination kills all that energy that you've built up.
And the trust in your body.
Well, that trust, you've told me all this story, and I wanted to say me too, but it's about you, so I kept my mouth shut as much as I could, but it's so true. All that panic, all that, you're not trusting yourself, you're not trusting to feel it all, so you're trying to use an alcoholic or a person or whatever it is, but you've decided, no, I'm going to embrace all this now.
When you meditate on something and it keeps appearing time after time, or just in daily life, and you don't trust that feeling, essentially you're saying no to yourself. The only reason I'm saying this is because I've experienced it myself, and when I've said no to myself, that the weight of that procrastination and the never knowing weighs heavier than the fear of just going to do it anyway.
Regret the decisions you don't take.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I know there's so much more to talk about. I feel like we definitely
well,
how can you sum somebody up in one episode or even two or three? So I'd love to get you back on again. Where I'm mindful of time, I want the audience to be able to digest what you've spoken of. Where can they find you if they do want to reach out about the sober socials or anything you've spoken about?
So if you want to reach out to me, please feel free. My Instagram handle is Amy Proudfoot _ and Sober Social. If you want to follow us, come to one of our events. It's Sober Social UK. So yeah, get in touch.
And obviously look out for the Netflix special that's coming up soon. What I will do is I'll put all these links in the description as well. Now, I also would like to know if there's one last little message that you can leave the listeners with, just something to take away, a bit of Amy Proudfoot wisdom.
So one of the most healing things that I do on a day-to-day, every single day when I wake up, I will dance and move my body, right? And the reason I do that is to get out of my head, get out of the thinking brain, the monkey mind, the chatter, and just give myself permission to let go and to express through free movement. I would definitely recommend, when you wake up first thing, if you want to shift your state and amplify your energy, if you want to get more into the present moment, shake that shit out. Put on some music and shake your body, like jump up and down on the bed, you know, dance around when you're taking your kids to school, when you're getting changed, just put on some music and honestly, just let go. It is the most healing medicine that I've ever experienced in my life. And actually, we've got something really exciting coming up with Sober Social very soon, which involves dancing. So watch out for that. But I would definitely recommend to the listeners, shake that shit out.
Shake that shit out. You heard it here first. Not from any Proudfoot, but from Amy Proudfoot. No, beautiful. I really appreciate it. We finally got you on. We've been back and forth for ages. But guys, I'll put all the links in the description. Thanks for taking time to listen to me and Amy.
Thank you so much.
No, thanks for coming on. And thanks for wearing that cool hat as well.
Yeah, gotta be done.
Peace and love, guys.
Peace, peace.
She's a quirky one, isn't she? She's unashamedly just, this is me and I'm here for it. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as myself. Now, if you're interested in maybe getting in touch with me and seeing what all this social, I always get that wrong, let me start again. Sober Social, I don't know why I struggle with that. Sober Social events, you want to find out more about it, you want to find other ways of exploring and without needing substances, and you want to meet other people on that path, well, the links will be in the notes. And then for myself, you want to do any one-to-ones, you want to come and join us for a class, get one of the recordings, or come down to that event on the 14th, Cocoon of Past Lives. I'll put a link for myself as well. Also Transmute Studio, and of course, the most important person in my world, my love, Isabella Nutrition, not just because I'm biased, but because it really does start with what you're putting in your body, you are what you eat. So I'll put all those links for you. Any likes, if you could give a little like if you've not done it yet, or if you want to subscribe and you don't want to miss any of these next upcoming ones, then please do. Shares, they're so appreciated. Now, the next one coming up will be with, I already mentioned him at the start actually, Leo Oppenheim. Fantastic, barefoot walking, with hooves out, as he would say, cold water, yoga, acro yoga, meditation. I'm missing other ones, but yeah, he's fantastic, Leo. I can't wait to share him with you. Whilst you're waiting for episode 18, I do have a few that may suit you. So you're like a quirky, sober revolution kind of person. Ursula Griffiths, so funny, so funny. Both got that sort of quirkiness, but then like this purity at the same time with that laughter element. And another one that you might like, as mentioned, Willpower. Well, Willpower was the one she did the Sober Socials with, so go check him out as well. There's loads of different episodes, and maybe if it's somebody who's gone on this path of having addiction or substance abuse to then going clean, why not check out Ben SOS Dry Wave? That's episode, I think it was episode 5 and 6. Go check that out as well. So guys, I won't prattle on, but all the links will be there for you. Leo will be coming up next in episode 18. It's going to be beautiful. Guys, take care of yourself. I mean it when I say you're a beautiful person, because you all are. You all took an eternity to make out of stardust and dreams of the universe. How could you not be beautiful? Enjoy the rest of your week. Peace and love, guys.